how do you integrate them with battery systems like this? And this has like 100,000 iPhone batteries in it, the equivalent of that, to help transform our grid and our future energy system. We get wind and solar and battery storage to work together to create this new future energy system.
You know, when I think you know this, Kelly. When Barack and I got elected, he asked me to run the recovery program, and we had a notion that we were going to be able to use wind and solar and be able to transport it across the country on high tension wires. We didn't figure on not in my neighborhood. No, I'm serious.
Right.
And I remember we had this press conference where we laid out behind us a map of the United States that was almost it's as big as this part of the square. And everywhere we're going to transport energy and how we're transferring it, up into a light would go on, so the whole nation was connected.
Yeah.
And it was, since it was so brand new, none of us knew how difficult that would be, and how difficult it would be to get people to agree, number one. But number two, how susceptible to weather changes, all that would be, and so on. And so since then, I've got a guy named Wade Randall and others have been working with for a year, for now 7 years, on battery technology.
Yes.
And I went out to the valley and talked about how, and I think this is much more important than what you talked about here, but the ability for homeowners to have batteries now that are about this wide, that thick, can store up to 7 to 10 days of electric power when the wind ain't blowing,
Yes.
the sun's not shining.
Yes.
And but one of the things that I'm really anxious to learn more about, and I know my secretary knows, is how we integrate the entire grid, how we do that, because I have the intelligence community that is working on cybersecurity side
Yes.
as well. But it's one of the things that can transform the whole.
Mr. President, this is exactly what we're doing here. This is exactly what we're doing by providing the market
2035 and 2050 energy goals. We'll need at least 10 times as much wind deployment as we have today. But that 10 times means we need to do a few things differently. For instance, we can't be sending 10 times as many retired blades to the landfills. And so how do we address that? So we're using smaller research blades like this one here to develop completely new material systems. So NREL has the capability to develop brand new materials on our main campus in Golden. We can then fabricate an entire blade like this one you see here in the Comets facility that I think you just walked by a moment ago. And then in this facility we can prove whether that new technology works or not. And so in here they can put basically 30 years worth of loading for a wind turbine blade and compress that into just a few months, right? And then more dramatically, you can actually load it until it snaps in half, which is quite dramatic, as you might guess. And so
especially in a room this small.
Yeah. Exactly. And so we have the control room back there with the bulletproof glass and all of that, because it is quite remarkable when that happens. And this whole process, including what happens in this building, with again sort of doing the testing and proving out the technology, is critical for the technology transfer.
What is the fundamental change in the material?
Yeah, great. So this, is mostly fiberglass and epoxy resin, and this is actually just a filler material. That's balsa wood in there, like you may have used in middle school projects or something. And so it's that epoxy or resin material that is the problem today to doing anything with it at the end of life. You can't, once the epoxy sets, you can't do much with it. So what we're developing, both thermoplastic resins, which you can melt out at the end of life, as well as bio resin, so from biomass feedstock, corn or something else, which we're trying to get to fully recyclable blades in the near term. And as you might guess, the industry really likes to see it proven in a test facility like this before they're willing to take that kind of jump. So
allows you to chop it up, put it in a field, it will biodegrade and leave no footprint.
Exactly, and we're even, that's totally true, we're even shooting for, can we just reuse the same material in a new blade? That's kind of our ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now how long will it take? How much stress for how long you put on this blade before you begin to know what's happening?
Well, it's to break it, for instance, it depends on the blade architecture and size, but many tons of load to get this to break. I think Martin may have already shown you the large blade closer to this one is smaller because we can do the research we need.
Leave it down as well as
those are the one where we put 30 years of loading into a small amount of time. We have an oscillating mass, so the same principle.
Podium microphone check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're good. Here, TV, you take it. Yeah.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. This is a sound check. This is a sound check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Podium check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. 3 4. Check 1 2 3 4. Podium check. Microphone check. 1 2 3 4.
See what I mean? That's what he's.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine.
That's fine. Okay. And his glasses, if he wears them,
Yeah.
they should still work. Are yours polarized?
No.
The guys checked; they had polarized and it seemed to check out fine. So.
We have him scroll.
Yeah.
Walking this way, do you see him?
Yep.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the National Renewable Energy Lab. Yay, that's right. Secretary Granholm, thank you. This is an important national research institution here in Colorado that is powering the renewable energy revolution across the country and across the world with global partners. We are so thrilled that President Biden is visiting us for a Build Back Better tour. And I want to thank the Biden administration for being such an important partner in the fight against climate change. We've seen the impact of climate change right up close and personal here in Colorado. For us, it's a jobs issue, it's a quality of life issue. Some of our most important industries in our state, agriculture, the ski industry, outdoor recreation, are climate dependent. We've had mudslides in Glenwood Canyon this year. We can see visually right here the impact from the California fires that has caused poor air quality across the American West these last couple of months. And in the aftermath of these climate-induced events, we've taken immediate steps to support our communities, and we've partnered closely with the federal government. When I ran for governor, I ran on the bold goal of us achieving 100% renewable energy for Colorado by 2040. And at that time, there were those who wrote that off as pie in the sky, but we know that it's a vision that will become a reality here in Colorado. And frankly, the federal cooperation and resources is a big part of that. President Biden's Build Back Better agenda directly helps support the work that we're doing here in Colorado, one of the leading states on the clean energy revolution. The clean energy sector employs 60,000 Coloradans, 17,000 in good-paying renewable energy jobs, saving consumers money on electricity, on the cost of their vehicles. The time to seize this market-driven transition to renewable energy is now. It's time to stop forcing consumers to pay more for their electricity just to prop up coal power plants for another year or another decade. We're also proud to highlight the leadership of Xcel Energy in our state. It's the largest utility. They have locked in 80% renewable energy in just 8.5 more years, or in 8 years and 3 months, the clock's ticking, to get to 80%, and they will beat that. And that puts us on a path towards receiving significant reductions in carbon emissions, including building in the electrification of the vehicle fleet, as well as building electrification as a key part of powering it from a greener grid. I'm excited to turn it over to someone who's truly been a good partner for the Colorado, along with their Colorado Director, Alice Jackson, and leading the transition towards clean energy from the utility side here in Colorado. I'm proud to introduce Ben Folk, the CEO and Chairman of Xcel Energy.
Well, thank you, Governor, and thanks for making Colorado a leader in clean energy innovation. And it's really an honor to be here today to welcome President Biden to NREL. I'm also pretty excited to talk a little bit about the Xcel Energy story. 2018, we became the first utility in the nation to announce a goal to be carbon-free by 2050. And I'm proud to say that our leadership has been followed. More than 20 utility companies now have similar goals. We're really building on a great platform. Since 2005, we've already reduced carbon emissions by over 50%. And as the governor mentioned, we're well on our way to achieve that 80% carbon reduction across all of our 8 states that we serve by 2030. So we're excited about that because we're going to keep our product affordable and reliable, and that means that we can support decarbonization of other business sectors like transport. In fact, just last week here in Colorado, we announced 3 programs that will help get even more EVs on the road. So, Governor mentioned it, but renewable energy across our 8 states is a big part of how we are reducing our carbon emissions. In fact, we're blessed with great wind and solar in the 8 states we serve. It'll allow us to have 2/3 of our energy by 2030 coming from wind and solar, 80% wind and solar here in Colorado. So we're excited about that, but we all know that the big grid can't just run on renewables. We do need backup generation to make sure that our customers have safe, reliable, affordable energy. And that's why it's so great to be here at NREL, because I think NREL will have a big part in developing those technologies that will allow us to reach that 2050 goal of being carbon-free. Of course, sound policy is important too. And the President, his administration, and Congress are working on a suite of policies that I think have the potential to really accelerate that clean energy transition. And I can tell you, as a company and as an industry, we want to go absolutely as fast as we can, but we don't want to leave anybody behind. We don't want to leave our employees and communities behind, and that's why we've partnered with our largest labor union, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the IBEW. And that partnership's critical today as Congress considers these energy policies, and it's critical tomorrow as we continue to move away from coal and embrace those clean, carbon-free technologies. So I know our industry, our company, and our workforce is ready for the challenge, and I'm excited to see what we can do working together. And with that, I want to invite Julian Aguilar to come to the stage and make some comments. Julian?
So yesterday I got a phone call, and it was from my business manager, Jeremy Ross. And he said, hey, do you want to introduce the president tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, I'll introduce Morgan Buchanan, Local 68's president, at some function, you know? And he said, no, Joe Biden, President of the United States. And I was like, whoa, like, for real? Me? Yeah, I'm down. I'm in. Let's do it. I don't know when else I'd have this opportunity. And I know just now I met Joe Biden for the first time in my life, but I feel like he's had my back for years. My name is Julian Aguilar, and I am a proud member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Locals number 68. My father and 2 cousins are also members of Local 68. My mother was a Teamster for the union in the city of Denver, Colorado, and she retired until she retired in 2019. My grandfather and uncle were both members of the Iron Workers Local 24. My grandfather was also the president of Local 24. You can say union is in my blood. Being here at NREL shows the future of our industry, renewable and sustainable energy. Smart grids, wind farms, and solar farms are just a few examples here in our great state of Colorado. When you see all these new technologies, you might think that the future doesn't look much like the past. But one thing the past and the future will have in common is they will be built by unions. My 16-month-old son, Cristiano, is right over there. I see you, buddy. And he's there with my wife, Salome. And I want him to inherit a better and more sustainable future. I know that that's the future the President, Joe Biden, and my IBEW brothers and sisters are working hard to build every single day. President Joe Biden is not just pro-union, he's pro-people, and he's pro-America. Please join me in welcoming the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
Thank you very much, Julian. Governor, and I want to thank you as well for all you do. You know, and the IBW is one of the outfits that, as they say in Claymont, Delaware, that brung me to the dance. And they're the best in the world, and really great seeing you all working together. Dr. Keller and the NREL team, thanks for welcoming me here. And Governor, it's good to see you again and your whole team. Lieutenant Governor Primavera, Attorney General, Secretary of State, you know, you got the Mayor Hancock, I think he's here, he was here, I thought I saw him earlier today. I want to thank you for the welcome to Denver and for making the trip out here. And my friends in Congress, Chairman Baker, thank you for being here. My team, we have the Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, who I always say, were she born in America and not Canada, she'd be standing here as president. But she's doing a heck of a job for me and for the country. And a proud electric car driver as well. And also the former Secretary and former Mayor of Denver, Federico Pena, a good friend of mine who's here. There you go, friend. Good to see you, pal. While I couldn't be here, I wanted to mention that the senator and my nominee for ambassador to Mexico is Ken Salazar. And I'm glad to see Congressman Perlmutter and Nuggies and Crow. I want to thank you all. You have other places to be, I know. And 3 good friends who wanted to be here in Washington today right now. You know, there's a lot. Senator Bennett and Hickenlooper and Congressman DeGette, they're all in Washington doing what they have to do. When you look, look at who you've heard from, it's clear. Whether you're an engineer or at a lab bench, or an IBW worker working on a combine, a turbine. When you work for a power company or a small construction business, everyone has a role to play, and everyone is building a clean energy future and a stronger economy, because that's what it's about. And we need everyone's contributions. We need everyone's contributions. Yesterday, I saw firsthand the devastation of the Caldor fire in California as we flew over in a helicopter. And the last 2 weeks, I traveled to Louisiana, New York, and New Jersey, see the destruction from Hurricane Ida. More people killed in New York with flooding, 20 inches of rain, and what's happened up there, than were killed when 178-mile-an-hour winds hit Louisiana. Extreme weather, we're seeing, is only going to come more frequently and with more ferocity. And we're blinking code red as a nation, and we really are. So far this year, nationwide, there are 44,000 wildfires that have burned nearly 5.6 million acres. That's enough. That's the size of the entire state of New Jersey, burned flat. They've caused billions of dollars in damage and forced tens of thousands of people to evacuate their homes and businesses. And even if it's not in your backyard, you feel the effects, as you mentioned earlier. You turn on the local weather, in addition to telling you what the temperature is and what the precipitation will be, you want to know what the smoke forecast is going to be. When parents fear letting their kids out to play outside, it may trigger an asthma attack. You saw the vicious cycle this summer when heavy rains combined with the burn scar of 2020 Grizzly Creek fire. It resulted in mudslides, as was pointed out, that washed out an entire section of Interstate 70, adding hours of people's drives and cutting off a vital commercial artery. The bottom line is it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Communities that nearly 1 in 3 Americans call home have been struck by weather disasters in just the past few months. Hurricanes in the Gulf Coast are up this eastern seaboard. Wildfires threatening throughout the West and tearing it apart. Droughts and heat waves across the country, devastating farmers and ranchers and draining the Colorado River. In addition to the lost lives shattered, extreme weather cost America last year $99 billion. $99 billion extreme weather cost last year. And it's going to break the record this year. It's going to be well over $100 billion. We know what the driver is, climate change. We know what's causing climate change, human activity. This is no longer subject to debate. And I might add, windmills do not cause cancer. You know, look, we got to get real about what's going on. I really mean it. Think about it. The only debate is around what we do to confront this crisis. And that shouldn't even be a debate. You know, we have to invest in being more resilient because of the impacts of climate. The climate change is current today, not next year, not 10 years from now. And we have to make the investments that are going to slow our contributions to climate change today, not tomorrow. And here's the good news. Something that is caused by humans can be solved by humans. I've set a course for the United States to achieve 50 to 52% reduction in greenhouse emissions by 2030. And for us to reach that net zero emissions in the economy, economy-wide, across the board, by 2050. As part of that, I set a goal of having our country produce 100% carbon pollution-free power by 2035. We can do that. We can do all of this in a way that creates good jobs, lowers cost to consumers and businesses, and makes us global leaders in an entirely new industry that other countries are really working hard to try to dominate. I just toured the Renewable Energy Lab, which I haven't been here, not the same lab, but I haven't been here since 2011. It was started under President Carter and expanded under President Bush, H.W. Bush. Leaders of both parties have recognized that clean energy future is an economic imperative, and a national security imperative, and an environmental imperative. That's why my Build Back Better plan calls for significant new investments in upgrading research infrastructures, laboratories all across the country. We'll be making one of those breakthroughs in solar, wind, and storage out of these facilities. Out-innovate the rest of the world and drive down the cost of renewable energy. Of course, we have to invest in the future. We need to deploy cutting-edge technologies. And we have to employ them today, not tomorrow. I had a chance to see the state-of-the-art wind turbine testing and new battery technologies. Because of the years of work that have taken place here, and these technologies aren't science fiction. They're ready to be installed and scaled up across the country right now by union members like the ones we heard from today. And that's what we're going to do. You know, as we just heard from the CEO of Xcel Energy, they've set a goal of producing 100% carbon emission-free power. They were the first major utility to set that goal. And today, over 20 large facilities around the nation have set a similar goal. You led the way. Today, 1 of every 3 Americans lives in a city or a state transitioning to clean energy electricity. But folks, we have to pick up the pace. When I rejoined the Paris Climate Accord after we had been pulled out of it, the goal set when our last administration, the Obama-Biden administration, when that was set, they were set that we had more time. We don't have the time now. The goals are different because the necessity is there. We don't have a lot of time. We don't have much more than 10 years, for real. And this is a decisive decade. Already the price of solar generation in this country has dropped 80% over the past decade. 80%. The price of a wind turbine generation has dropped 55%. And a lot is because of the investments we made in the Recovery Act back when I was vice president. And today, renewables are now cheaper than fossil fuels in many parts of the country. Now we need to take the next step of continuing to drive prices down and job creation up. Because those renewable goals create demand for more wind turbines and more installations, solar installations, which means good jobs for workers like Julian and his union brothers and sisters. And you can see why I think that climate change, when I think of it, I think jobs. I had a meeting with over 140 heads of state on Zoom that we hosted out of the White House. And one of the things by the time I finished, everyone was talking about jobs. It's not about costing jobs. Initially, as you remember, even you guys, I spent a lot of time before I announced my plan meeting with all the unions to convince you all that this is the future. These are the jobs are. When I say jobs, I'm not talking about $15 an hour. I'm not talking, am I not speaking loudly enough? I can see you having trouble hearing me back there. You know, I'm talking about union jobs, not 15, 20 bucks an hour, 45, 50 bucks an hour benefits. That's going to grow the country too. I've never seen the wealthy do poorly when the middle class does well. That's never happened. So to accelerate that process, we need to invest and innovate. We need a modern electric grid, one that is much higher capacity, more resilient transmission wires, and has more storage capacity, using advanced batteries so we can hold onto surplus energy generated when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing. Right now, it's going to rain. No. Right now, we've got transmission projects that could carry enough power for millions of homes, but they need catalytic investment to move to the construction phase. Our bipartisan infrastructure bill contains the largest federal investment in power transmission in our history, so that our grid is more reliable, we can carry more renewable energy, so we can create good union jobs building that new grid. We're also making dramatic investments in public transit, electric buses, charging stations. In Denver, we're going to help Mayor Hancock achieve his goal of reducing greenhouse gases in the city by 80%. It's going to create jobs that we know the local 68 Apprentice Center is busy training workers to be able to perform. And by the way, I'm bringing the automakers, including the big three, and the UAW along so we have more electric vehicles on the road and fewer tailpipe emissions in the air. We're going to cap thousands of abandoned oil wells and gas wells leaking methane, threatening public health and communities, and get paid the same price for capping them as was to dig them. We're going to provide support to make our communities, including tribal nations, much more resilient to the impacts of climate change. Every dollar we invest to flood-proof a power station, install power lines underground, winterize a power plant, or to build advanced turbines like the ones here, every dollar we spend saves $6 down the road, because the next time a disaster strikes, flooding is contained, the fire doesn't spread as widely, the power stays on. And these investments can also save lives, save homes, and create good-paying jobs for Americans to make our country stronger and more resilient. In fact, experts tell us that the bipartisan agreement we've reached in the American Infrastructure Bill will put 800,000 people to work. 800,000, including plumbers, pipe fitters, electrical workers, steel workers, modernizing roads, bridges, water systems, broadband systems, making high-speed internet available to 85,000 Coloradans who currently don't have it. That's what's in the infrastructure bill. That's already agreed to. And we're negotiating right now for my plan to Build Back Better, which includes additional action to address climate crisis. It includes tax credits that will effectively cut the cost of building utility-scale solar farms by 30%, shorten the time it takes for residential-scale solar systems to pay for themselves in around 8 years, instead of 8, in less than 5 years. Save consumers $1,250 for an electric vehicle like a Ford F-150. By the way, 0 to 60 in 4.1. That's a different. Help us reach the goal of half the new cars sold in America will be electric by 2030, saving billions of gallons of gasoline. And I want to create a civilian climate corps. I've been pushing that for a long time. Similar to the Conservation Corps that President Roosevelt created during the Great Depression, put a new generation of Americans to work, helping us connect and conserve our public lands and become resilient in the process. Yesterday, I visited the National Interagency Fire Center in Idaho, where we coordinate our federal fire response to wildfires. They told me that the Civilian Climate Corps would make an enormous difference by cleaning away combustible underbrush, enable fires to spread, by planting trees to fight climate change. In the end, it's not about red states or blue states. A drought or a fire doesn't see a property line. It doesn't give a damn for which party you belong to. Disasters aren't going to stop. That's the nature of the climate threat. But we know what we have to do. We just need to summon the courage and the creativity to do it. Yes, we face a crisis. But we face a crisis with an unprecedented opportunity to create good jobs of the future, create industries of the future, to win the future, to save the planet. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do this. This is the United States of America. There has never been a problem we've faced when we set our mind to do that we haven't been able to, I mean it literally. Never have we failed to meet an objective we set. And what's happening now with both the industry, government, unions, people around the country, is that we've set a goal. And the goal is achievable. And I promise you, it's going to create great economic growth, reduce inflation, and put people in a place where those beautiful children in the back are never going to have to worry about what we're worrying about right now. So thank you. Remember, there's not a damn thing we're unable to do in America when we come together. Never, ever have we failed. And we're not going to fail now because of all of you. Thank you for everything. Thanks, everybody. I really mean it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're gonna get straight down, sir.